Arthritis literally means inflammation of one or more joints. There are many types of arthritis, over 100 and growing. These types range from those related to wear and tear of cartilage, such as osteoarthritis, to those associated with inflammation resulting from an overactive immune system, such as rheumatoid arthritis. Together, the many types of arthritis make up the most common chronic illnesses in the United States. Have you or someone you know been diagnosed with arthritis? Then this is the show for you. Hello and welcome to Healthy Connections. I'm Annetta Wilson, your host. Healthy Connections is a show dedicated to exploring a wide variety of topics, from prenatal care to Alzheimer's disease. And we do so with a wide variety of perspectives, from the professionals that help treat the syndromes to everyday people like you and me who may have personal experience dealing with these topics on a first-hand basis. Stay tuned for Healthy Connections. Dr. Daniel Miller is an orthopedic surgeon with Orlando Health, and he's here to give us an overview of what arthritis really is, why it affects millions of Americans each year, and maybe some things we don't know about arthritis. Dr. Miller, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the basics. I mean, we think we know what arthritis is, but give us the basic definition.
So arthritis is it's damage to a joint. What happens is that the ends of our bones are covered in cartilage, and that's what makes a joint move smoothly. When that cartilage becomes damaged, that's a process of degenerative changes that is known as arthritis. And it can cause inflammation, swelling, and the associated pain that people have with this issue.
So Dr. Miller, can you define and describe the different kinds of arthritis? Because it's not just one blanket disorder.
Correct, yes. No, there's several different types of arthritis. There's the autoimmune variety of arthritis, which are things like psoriatic arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, and those are things that are genetically linked. That is basically the body is fighting against itself and begins to degrade the cartilage in the joint. That's typically treated with medications. There's other types of arthritis which are post-traumatic, which would be something along the lines of someone who suffers a fracture or breaks a bone that goes into the joint, and that can disrupt the cartilage and begin that process of degradation. There's another form of arthritis, it's called septic arthritis, which unfortunately some people can get a bacterial infection in a joint, and that bacteria can eat away the cartilage, and that begins the process of the cartilage degradation. The most common that we see, though, is what we call idiopathic arthritis, which means we don't really know why it's happening. It could be because someone lived an active lifestyle, participated in high impact activities, but over time the joint begins to wear, and there's a little bit of cartilage degeneration, and it advances into what we call arthritis.
Now, are there some people who are more prone than others? You mentioned rheumatoid and psoriatic being a genetic, that's just how your genes are wired. But are there some that can be prevented? Are they just a process of the blessing and of getting older?
So with regards to the autoimmune variety, there are certain subsections of the population that are more prone to that. But with regards to the normal everyday arthritis wear and tear, it just depends. Obviously there are things that we can do to avoid that. Obviously healthy joint habits with regards to low impact activity, maintaining a healthy weight, and overall joint awareness, that goes a long way. But there's not really one thing you can do to prevent arthritis from occurring.
Okay. How young is the youngest case you've heard of someone being diagnosed?
So depending on the type of arthritis, usually the idiopathic version is something that afflicts people later on in life.
Hmm.
Obviously, there are young people that have different forms of arthritis. Septic arthritis, a septic joint can happen to any age range. Honestly, it can happen to babies and it can go all the way to adults. There's not, unfortunately, arthritis is not a disease that afflicts only the older
Hmm.
population. It can affect anybody.
I would imagine that's a common misconception that, oh, I'm young, I don't have to worry about it. If I'm hearing you right, that's not necessarily the case.
No, no, it's not at all. I mean, there's, like I said, it is, if anything starts off that process of cartilage damage, the inevitability is that it'll progress and lead to an arthritic joint.
So is that the point at which they come and see you when they've tried everything else? When would we call in an orthopedic surgeon?
So any point in time, usually what we see is people who live an active lifestyle and start to have joint pain, typically in a particular joint. Some of those other types that we're talking about, the hereditary forms, are polyarthralgia, meaning joint pain in multiple joints. But what we see as orthopedic surgeons is usually someone coming in with a particular joint. My right knee hurts or my left ankle hurts, things of that nature. If the pain becomes persistent and it starts affecting your activities of daily living or functionally limiting you, that's when you should probably seek out someone to advise you on what's going on.
So let's talk about warning signs, symptoms. When is it just, oh, okay, I'm just having the normal achy joints to, okay, I need to call a doctor. What should we look for?
Yeah, when it's persistent and it's been several weeks, if not months, where you're experiencing progressive pain, if you have an associated effusion or fluid on the joint with swelling, if it starts to affect your stability, or if it's really bothersome with just normal everyday activities, that's when I'd say it'd probably be worth it to go in and have it examined.
What is exciting to you about the state of research and treatment right now?
So here at Orlando Health, we have a great team of arthroplasty specialists as well as non-operative physicians that are doing a lot with regards to not only cutting edge research, but also with regards to both operative and non-operative treatments for arthritic
When
joints.
you say operative, that means they're going to come to you because you're a surgeon, and non operative or non surgical methods. Let's talk about what some of those are.
Sure. So the non-surgical methods, there is an algorithm with regards to the arthritis that we see on a day-to-day basis. Typically, what you want to do is you want to treat it with conservative management. First of all, anti-inflammatory medications, ice, elevation. Give it some time. See if you can resolve it with a little tender loving care.
Hmm.
Um, if that doesn't work, you can progress. There's numerous forms of injections um, that you can treat arthritic joints with. Corticosteroid injections or local anti-inflammatories that you put directly into the joint. There's viscosupplementation injections, which are what is commonly known as a gel shot. It can create a lubricant for the joint.
Hmm.
There's PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma injections to stimulate healing environments. Those are all options prior to surgical intervention.
Okay.
Once you get out of those options, you can go on to surgery, that's when you would see someone like myself.
Thank you for the primer on arthritis. I didn't realize there were so many different kinds, some genetically linked and some just a process of how we live our lives. So, really great information. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And when we come back, we're going to hear the personal story of a woman who was diagnosed in college. Carol Henry Lee is an arthritis warrior and local leadership board member with the Arthritis Foundation, Florida and Puerto Rico chapter. She's here to share her story. Thanks for joining us. What is an arthritis warrior?
I know everyone wants to know. It's a term the Arthritis Foundation came up with a few years ago to anyone who's battling any form of arthritis is called a warrior because it's a fight to stay well, to feel good, to do your life.
We were talking a little earlier and you were sharing your story, and I really want people to hear it. When were you diagnosed and how did you know there was an issue?
When I was a freshman in college, 19 years old, I woke up out of the blue with excruciating pain in my right elbow. But I was on the tennis team, so I just thought, oh, this must be tennis elbow. But the pain started moving to all my different joints, got worse and worse, and after a few years, I was finally diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Had no idea what it was.
In your early 20s?
Yes.
Usually when we hear about rheumatoid arthritis, we think someone who is older, and you were just starting your adult life.
Right. And they told me, the doctor told me with the diagnosis, I was relieved at first because I thought I was crazy. But he said that I'd probably be crippled in 10 years, that I shouldn't have children, so I shouldn't get married. And he prescribed bed rest in college and 16 full-strength aspirin a day.
So how much of that did you do and how much did you ignore?
Well, you know, it was shocking. You know, that was completely changing my world.
Sure.
And so I didn't do anything except take the aspirin.
And now you have a son to prove that.
Well, and so, you know, he told me all that, but I got married. I raised my son, mostly as a single mom. Mm-hmm. I worked full time until I retired 2 years ago. Never took disability, sometimes working through terrible pain.
So let's talk about living with rheumatoid arthritis. What did it prevent you from doing?
Well, it's interesting. I have given up things all along the way, and it seems like only one thing at the time, but when I look back at my life, there's a lot I've given up. I gave up tennis and water skiing, my two favorite things, right away. But arthritis, at least rheumatoid arthritis, is unpredictable. So you never know when it's going to strike. So you give up a lot of important events in your life, and you spend that time, at least for me, but I think for most people like me, you know, I call it, I go in my cave because I hurt so terribly that I don't want to talk to anyone. Mm-hmm. I know people care, but I can't deal with anything except getting through the pain.
So how has the Arthritis Foundation and its work helped you deal with this?
The Arthritis Foundation provides so many things. What I care about a lot is they do fundraising to help do research to find a cure. We all want a cure.
Sure.
And if we don't have a cure, we want treatments because your body adjusts to the different drugs. And so I'm all for that. But they also have connect groups all over the country, many here in Orlando, where it's peer-on-peer led, and you talk and support other people with your same form of arthritis. That's important because you feel like you're alone.
You said the same form of arthritis. So one thing that you said you wanted people to know is arthritis is not just one thing.
No, the Arthritis Foundation is supporting over 100 types of arthritis. They're the ones people have heard of. Osteoarthritis, which is what older people get, or athletes, wear and tear. It's the more common one. But there's rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, gout, for example, and juvenile arthritis. Hundreds of thousands of kids get arthritis as early as infant.
And we don't hear that part of the story often.
And it's heartbreaking.
Sure.
So there are over 60 million Americans with some form of arthritis, and it includes all ages, sexes, races. You know, it can impact anyone, and it's the #1 disability in the United
Well,
States.
but you are definitely proof that you can live with it and thrive with it.
I've been lucky. I have had a full, active, joyful life with intermittent
Bumps along the way.
big bumps.
Big bumps.
But I've had a great medical team. That's critical. I have always had good insurance. I've got family and friend support.
And you're giving back through your work with the Arthritis Foundation.
And I give back.
Now, we
But
want to make sure we tell people about the fundraiser going on in December.
It's called the Jingle Bell Run, and it is this fun, festive 5K race. But really, some people run and really race, but most people walk and talk. And some people like me, if I'm not feeling good, I just enjoy the festivities.
Well, somebody's got to cheer the crowd on.
Yeah. So I have a team every year called the Jingle Joints, and I raise money and I give back because so many people with arthritis don't have the resources I have.
Well, Carol, thank you for sharing your story with us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
We'll be back right after this. Arthritis, it's not inevitable, but when it does happen, what's good to know is there are always new treatment modalities coming out because we want you to continue to have fun and more healthy connections. I'm Annetta Wilson. Thanks for joining us.